Okay, okay. Change of pace. Come on, come on, come on. Let's see. No, I do not. I'll restart this. Okay. We should be streaming. I just want to make sure. I want to see myself on the laptop. All right. How you guys all doing? Man, this shirt makes me look fat. Let me zoom in a little bit because I don't like the wide screen. Hey, baby. You spoiled little beast. There's another spoiled beastie. All right. This is pretty cool. Filming and watching. This will work. All right, so hello, Edward. So my thing is going to be completely destroying your names. We're just going to hang out. It's Friday night. I got the coffee going. Hopefully you do too. I make the best coffee. Okay, so Chinwa76, he wants to let me know that Instant Ocean contains ammonia, which causes algae. I measured 5 to 1, blah, blah. I wasn't using Instant Ocean when I had green hair algae. I used Instant Ocean for like 4 years straight. Not reef crystals, just Instant Ocean, and it was damn awesome. But thanks for doing the test. Bronx Reefer, what's up, dude? No salt. I don't know what that means. Anyway, okay. So, I'm going to answer subscriber questions from the comments. I view them every day. I love them. Thank you guys so much for commenting and asking questions on the videos. Saltwater Aquarium Care video every Saturday morning. And I like to go live sometimes Friday, hang out with you guys. I've got the house to myself, so there's nobody around. There's nobody but me and the dogs. It's really nice. Mitch, what's up, dude? Okay. So let's get the stuff out of the way first. We got a little delay in the thing. So anyway, so I've been into film for years, and it's totally... Oh, no, we're offline. Hold on. Oh, no, we're still live. Let me just type a quick chat message here. All right. Yeah, a little glitch because I had a call coming through. I'm filming with the iPhone, my iPhone 7, and I'm viewing everything on the MacBook. Sorry for the delay. So let me get this out of the way first. I always like to start videos out by saying, if you guys like the gear that I use in the saltwater aquarium thing, I always put links to everything I use in the video descriptions below. So please read them, because a lot of times, even though I say it every time, people say, where can I buy this? And it's in the video description below. I just said it. I don't want to keep saying it, but I have to say it. So if you're interested in knowing what I use, or you'd like to purchase what I use, I get everything from Amazon except for live stock, live things. Check out the video description below. for the links. Check out Rotter Tube Reef. It's our I just built it, but we all share it. Website, rottertubereef.com. It's a really cool forum. No bullies allowed. It's heavily moderated. Blah, blah, blah. It's getting more traction. We'll see how it goes the next 6 months. If it doesn't seem to get more traction, I'll pull the plug on that website and we'll just focus on the Facebook group, which has a lot of activity, and I need to spend more time on it. You guys are outstanding at answering questions for newcomers to the hobby. And the group, thank you so much. It's heavily moderated as well. No bullies or jackasses allowed, because I can't stand those people. Look, we got enough problems in life. Maybe your wife is yelling at you again. Maybe your husband is doing the same, and the kids are just, why won't he stop touching me, Dad? He won't stop touching. You just want to get away, right? So this is one of those places. I deal with a lot of jackasses in life, and I don't want to deal with it when I'm hanging out with you guys, and neither do you. So that's why the bullies are gone. You know, sometimes you may see some comments from me firing back at bullies. You really shouldn't do it. Not because it's not nice. I don't care about that. But because it fuels bullies and trolls. That's what they want. A lot of times I just delete them and ban them instantly, but sometimes I like to get back at them by putting some nasty things about them, and then I ban them. So if you see any nastiness, I apologize. Sort of. You guys know how I am. What else can I tell you? Just been working on a lot of stuff. I've been working on my Rotter Studios channel. Check the link for that. I talk about everything from movie reviews. I'm just chatting right now. We'll get to the stuff. Movie reviews and the camera gear that I use, recording studio techniques. Right now I'm in the process of maybe selling my iMac and going iPad Pro only. I don't know. You could do so much more with scaling down. You don't need, like, I got away from PCs years ago. I've been into PCs for 25 years, and so I'm getting off topic. That's more talk for the Rotter Studios channel. I started gaming more. The Joker Box, the Heath Ledger Joker impression. Check out that, thejokerbox.com. That channel's growing and getting like twice as many views as this channel. A lot of Joker fans out there. Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. You use the iPad Pro. All right, dude, real quick question for you then. iPad Pro 10.5 or 12.9? It is a split house. I love the idea of the 10.5, but being into video production and color correction and photography, the 12.9 seems to be calling my name more. I don't know. I'll do some video editing on the iPad Pro as well, but the iPad Pro is sweet. Let's see. You use the smaller one. Okay, thank you. Edward, let's see a question. I was thinking, who do I ask this question and just how you live? So am I using Aquaforest Reef Salt? Last month my aquarium stand seems not fine, so I have to took the water out and put it into a big drum. Not sure what that question is. So rephrase it and someone will answer you. Let me answer some questions. Let me just log in here. I'm really not comfortable. I feel like this. Meh. Can I get comfortable, please, for a second? This is where I am, by the way, like, all the time. I'm editing and reading and researching and marketing and search engine optimization and website building and responding to comments and things. All right. Kermit asks, Kermit the Frog, will filter floss take out cupramine or a biosponge? And what copper test do you recommend? I use API and it's clear. Kermit, that's an awesome question. Filter floss will not take out the cupramine. A biosponge will not take out the cupramine. Carbon will, so you don't want to use carbon in there. And if you're using a protein skimmer, don't do that either. All right? You don't want that stuff to come out. So I'll answer that later. Stephen Dobbs asked yesterday a random question. Anyone have any tips on how to get rid of... Now, if you guys have answers, feel free to put them in the comments. Because as people watch these videos, they're going to see the comments scroll by the video, which is great. So you guys can help out too. Anyone have any tips on how to get rid of red bubble algae? It only grows on one rock, but it's getting worse. I scrub it every 4 to 5 water changes, which I don't like doing. They come back with a vengeance. Yeah, anytime you scrub any kind of algae or anything, it's going to let those spores propagate through your tank. So you never want to scrub anything in your aquarium itself. If you've got coralline algae and you're trying to let that grow, that is fine. Because you like the purple rock. That's what the coralline algae is. Correct me if I'm wrong, people in the chat, but emerald crabs, 1 or 2 of them, depending on the size of your tank. They're talking amongst themselves now about chillers and power heads. Someone said how to kill ick for free. Set the tank water to 88 degrees. It kills the ick, but don't leave the fish in there for too long after the ick dies. Well, surely you don't want to keep your fish in a tank of 88 degrees. By the way, that's wrong. That temperature is not going to kill ick. You've got to have that water close to boiling to kill ick. Ick is almost invincible. Ick is a parasite. That's what I base my channel around, and it kills your fish along with marine velvet. So that's false. What micron sock are you using? I don't use socks anymore, but when I was using them, I used the nylon mesh ones because they're a lot easier to clean, and it took out the larger solids like the fish waste and uneaten food. And since they're those nylon mesh, I could just put them in a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket, bring it to the laundry tub, turn them inside out, rinse them out. Someone made a comment on how to kill those little white starfish, those little bastard white starfish that eat your coralline algae. They drill through it, and they drill through the rock. They eat the coralline algae. They go after your zoanthids. They killed my zoanthid population. I've got like 2 zoanthids left. They multiply like fiends. And if a leg gets chopped off, that thing turns into a starfish. They multiply more than rabbits. They're bad news. You get them on your glass, then there's like quadruple the amount on your glass, on your rocks. You can't get rid of them. So someone said, so you hate nature. That's evil, because I did a video on how to get rid of them. And I responded, yeah, I hate nature. That's exactly what I said. You obviously don't know what these things do to a tank. Have you ever killed a bee or a mosquito? I guess not. They're perfect. I love animals more than people, by the way. And I just don't want to lose my corals and the hard work I put into the tank. Those things are hitchhikers. You obviously don't know what they're about. Let's see what the chat's talking about. I keep glitching. Maybe because it's on Wi-Fi. I don't know. And there's a lot of people on the stream. Did you put the fish in fresh water for 1 minute before transferring them into the quarantine tank? Yes, I always do. I let the fish swim in a freshwater bath for about a minute. This gets off any extra parasites or any parasites that may be on the fish, because parasites don't like fresh water. Plus, it gets on the fish through the gills, helps to cleanse the fish. That's how I see it anyway. More importantly, it helps to get rid of the parasites on the fish when you get them from the fish store. You don't ever want to put them in your display tank right away. Here's an important question from Puffer Lover. Thank you so much for great videos. My question is, I'm in the middle of cycling my saltwater tank, and it's been about a month. I feed my 3 puffer fishes once a day, and it seems that ammonia keeps going up when the nitrate and okay, blah, blah, we don't need to know that. People say when you do a water change to get rid of the ammonia, you are stepping back to the first step of cycling, and this is your tank, and you won't cycle your tank. My question is, he's doing 20% water changes every 2 to 3 days to bring ammonia down. Let's back up. He's cycling his tank, or she. Cycling your tank means you don't just put salt water in it and you put fish in it. That will kill your fish. Because when your fish go to the bathroom in a new tank, or any tank, that's ammonia, that's urine, and you feed them and the food breaks down and that turns into ammonia as well. Ammonia is bad, it's toxic, and it will kill your fish. So what you want to do is cycle your tank. You put no fish in it. It's going to be really boring to look at, and I've done videos on this, and a lot of people have. You put your fish tank up, and I know what you're thinking. Well, I finally decided to get a saltwater tank. I got to have fish in it. I want to see fish in that tank that night. I was guilty of that too when I started. Luckily, I only lost 1 fish. But what happens is, there are 1 fish is too many. You put like 3, 4, 5 in there, which a lot of new people to the hobby do. In the matter of hours, there will be urine in that water at toxic levels, and it'll kill your fish because they're breathing that through their gills, and they're going to die. How do you get rid of the ammonia? Not water changes. You want the ammonia to spike up to toxic levels, because what happens is bacteria is going to breed in that tank, because you're going to put shrimp from the butcher, 1 or 2 pieces, or you're going to feed the tank even though there's no fish in it. Not too much, just a little bit of food once a day. Let that food break down and rot so bacteria grows. The bacteria will feed on the ammonia. This is cycling a tank, okay? This is why you have to wait, and it's a battle that takes place. You're going to let that ammonia just spike up. The ammonia is going to start by the food rotting, and the bacteria is also going to catch up, but at a slower rate. Sometimes what people do, and this is cruel, they'll put some cheap fish in the tank, so they go to the bathroom to start the ammonia, and they let those fish die to cycle the tank. A lot of people use chromies because they're hardy and they can kind of survive that ammonia attack, but not all the time, and it's just a cruel thing to do. I've never ever done that. I've always used shrimp or food, and then you do an ammonia test. Once that ammonia spikes, it's going to instantly plummet, which means there's enough bacteria in your tank to devour that ammonia. Now you can put a fish in there, because when the fish goes to the bathroom, there will be bacteria in the tank to devour the ammonia. Now, a month later, you can put another fish in. And then bacteria is going to colonize to take care of the ammonia waste from the second fish. You don't want to put 5 fish in at once your ammonia reaches 0, thinking, oh, there's no ammonia, I'll be fine. No, because there's only enough bacteria in that tank to take care of ammonia set off by 1 fish. You put 4 or 5 other fish in, it's going to spike that ammonia, and the bacteria won't be able to eat the ammonia fast enough, and the fish will die. Make sense? Okay. So that's why you don't want to do water changes, because you're actually removing the ammonia. You want the ammonia to grow and spike to toxic, lethal levels with no fish in it, because you want the bacteria to colonize so it will overtake the amount of ammonia that the tank is throwing at it. Don't do water changes. Once you reach 0, you can put a fish in. Now you've got 3 puffer fish in there. Yeah, you got to get those guys out of there, because they may die from the ammonia. Get them out of there. Don't do water changes. Now, if you put them in a quarantine tank, make sure you do a water change of 50% every day, because if you don't, the ammonia will kill them. One thing you can do if you've got like a friend, or you've got like a tank up already and you want to have a quarantine tank for when you buy new fish, I would keep like a sponge or something. You could even use like a car sponge. Go to the, auto store and get like a car sponge and just let it sit in your sump submerged underwater. And then after about a month, it should be seeded with enough bacteria. You throw that sponge in your quarantine tank, it'll cycle it instantly. If you have a friend who has an aquarium, a saltwater aquarium, and they do not have ick parasites, you can, throw a sponge in their sump, let it harvest their bacteria, and then throw it in your aquarium to seed it faster. That was just a thought. All right. Let's see. I'm reading what Chin W76 is saying. South Africa, what's up? Real TV1, how you doing? Hey, Aquarium Cabinet Solutions, what's good? Yep, corals are too expensive to lose now. Let's see, next question. I'm glad you guys are hanging out with me. Nice to see you. It's Friday night. Fish of Hacks, dude. He said, finally, someone else who loves quarantining as much as I do. That dude's a great reef keeper. Because I did a video on new coral quarantining. And check it out. I did it last weekend. And I actually took my coral out of my display tank to prove a point. And I'll link that at the end of this video after the video renders. And I put it in a 20-gallon tall in the basement with a heater, a sponge filter, and of course salt water. And I put all my coral in there to demonstrate and just kind of drive the point home to show you what it looks like when you buy anything from a fish store or reef store or local fish store, whatever you want to call it. You want to put it in a quarantine tank. A lot of people will say you don't have to do it. Don't listen to them. That's all you have to know. Don't listen to them. I have a quarantine tank for fish, and I have a separate quarantine tank for corals and inverts like snails and shrimp. Why two? Because when you get a new fish, you got to put that fish in there with a gentle bath solution of copper, liquid copper, which kills any parasites on the fish. I recommend dosing half the recommended amount. Read the instructions and cut it by 50%. Because if you dose what they say to dose, you'll probably kill your fish because it's too close to toxic levels, and you can't test the stuff with a copper test kit. It's impossible. Everyone says it. Look it up on the forums and online. It's impossible. I don't test for copper in my water because I only dose 50%, which is more than enough. And if I dose a little too much, oh well, maybe I dosed 70% or 85%, whatever. I'm still safe. So you want to put copper in there. Read the instructions every third day. Do your water changes. Put copper in there again. Half the amount, like I said. Keep those dudes in there for like 6 weeks. That'll kill any parasite cycles or anything. Then you know the fish are fine now to put in your display tank with everybody else. Never, ever, ever put fish in the display tank because you don't know what kind of parasites are on that fish, and there are some and many that come in. Now, you get a snail or you get inverts like shrimp, something like that, whatever. Parasites don't feed on them, but the water in the reef store carries them. So there could be parasites under the shell, anywhere on the shrimp. Even if you put them in like different salt water for like, 5-10 minutes, you propagate them properly, you could still carry them over. So I would keep, and I do, keep them in a separate quarantine tank, number 2 quarantine tank, no copper. Because the copper solution by cupramine Sechem, check out the video description below for the copper cupramine that you should get by Sechem or Sechem, however you want to say it, on Amazon. The stuff is awesome. It's the only thing that works. You don't want to use that in your quarantine tank number 2 for snails and coral or inverts because it kills them instantly. It's bad. Just do a water change once a week of like 30%, whatever. Gentle flow, small power head, LED lighting like in the last video I showed you. Parasites only eat fish. So if there's no fish in the tank, they're going to die. So when I'm going to buy coral, if I see any fish in the tank, you know there could be ick in there. Maybe not, but there could be. Just, you know, I know that you guys, a lot of you don't have the space and it's tough. You don't want to maintain 2 tanks. All you need is like a 5-gallon simple little aquarium for a coral. Now, let's say you do 6 weeks for the coral and 6 weeks for the fish, as we said, right? After 4 weeks, you decide, I'm going to get a coral. I love this one coral. I went to some expo show or there was a sale at my reef store. I want to put this beautiful zoanthid in my quarantine tank, my coral quarantine tank. Guess what? You just reset the clock to 0. You can't do that. Now you got to wait another 6 weeks because what if there's parasites on that water? You just infected your quarantine tank. You get it? You guys, okay? People are going to say, once you've got ick in your tank, you're always going to have ick in your tank. I'm so tired of hearing it. Feed your fish, you know, garlic if they... No. None of that works. You got to quarantine and then you'll totally have... I don't have ick in my tank. People say stress causes ick. No. If you're stressed, are you automatically going to get the flu or pneumonia? No. See, people don't know, and they keep spreading this evil game of telephone. Because it's a reef store, they know. No, they don't know anything, really, okay? No. I researched my ass off. This spot that I'm sitting in, I am planted here every night. I don't move. I don't watch TV. I do nothing but research and literally watch YouTube videos. I'm obsessed. I'm a fiend. Mush Farmer says, if you don't quarantine your livestock, it doesn't matter how much you pay or how well they say they keep their store. That's true, dude. Let me just add to this by saying that. How many of you guys or girls have seen a beautiful looking fish, totally healthy, eating? They're like, oh, you want to see it eat? Yeah, let me see it eat. You want to see it eat to see if it's healthy. That's great. So you buy that fish and you're like, oh, what's that fish like? 10 aquariums down on the upper tier. I don't want that one. It's on its side and it's on its deathbed. Glad I didn't get that one. Well, guess what? The reef store uses one centralized big filtration. They're not going to use a separate filtration and skimmer and everything for just each tank. There's no way. Everything is connected in the back room by a huge filtration system. So guess what? That means all the fish are swimming in the same water, just visually it's different tanks. So if that dude has got ick, you know damn well it's in the whole system, and there's a chance that the fish that you're just going to buy, he's been bagged up with ick-filled parasitic water. And guess what? You're going to put him in your tank, you just contaminated your whole display tank. So just what Mush Farmer said, it'll happen eventually. Chin W76 says, I have to teach LFS things. They don't know much. Totally true. Totally true. When I got nailed with ick, I didn't know what the hell it is. Your water parameters will test out totally cool. Everything will be totally fine. And one like young kid has nothing to do with his age, but I'm just saying he was like 14 working at the store. Not that you can't be 14 and not know things, but I'm just saying he's like, well, you know, are your windows open? Does your village spray for pesticides? Because, you know, pesticides can get in the water and kill the fish. Look, we're grabbing at straws here. That's not happening. Yes, you don't want to use Windex anywhere near your aquarium, right? You should just use water on a damp cloth and wipe down your water. But it's not like the Chemlon guy is taking his gun and spraying through my screen of my front windows trying to get into my tank. That's not happening. Whatever. Well, sometimes when the Chemlon guy comes and they spray your neighbor's lawn and you smell it, it could have... Yeah, maybe, but no, it was parasites. These idiots, they're the ones who sold me the water. Yeah, they don't sell me water anymore. That's another thing. What if their hands are in their tanks all day, right? Then they're making water for people. You come into the store. Yeah, 10 gallons of salt water, please. You bring in your empty 5-gallon jugs, 2 of them. They fill it. Thanks. You pay for it. You leave. Great. Clean salt water. Maybe not. Because they got their hands in the tanks trying to catch the fish that the little kid has to have. They're moving the rocks around. They net them up. Their hands are contaminated. They put it in the reservoir of like 100 gallons or however many gallons of water they are constantly having on hand when people come in to buy salt water. What if they just contaminated their salt water? Make your salt water at home, kids. That's my tip. Sydney Gully asked, what do I do if I don't have a quarantine set up yet and my main tank is infected with ick? I have a new aquarium for quarantine, but I don't have it set up yet, and my fish are near death. Any help is appreciated. Well, I said, if you have a quarantine tank, just fill it with water from your display tank and get the heater in there. You can put a cheap light or a lamp, even a desk lamp, pointed on top of the tank. Fish only don't need, a lot of light. You just a lamp is fine. Nothing fancy is needed. Put all the water in there, I set up a quarantine tank in like 10 minutes. Oh, but the water from my display tank is infected with ick. I'm putting it in my quarantine tank. That's no good. It doesn't matter. All those parasites are going to die once you start putting that copper solution in there, okay? So you're good. Oh, they asked the question again. So if they're watching, here's the answer. Let me see. Let me read it. So even though it'll have ick in it, the display water, I can put water from my display tank in my quarantine tank, and it'll help. No disrespect. I'm just trying to fully understand before killing my fish when it could have been prevented. Also, how long would you wait to introduce my fish to the hospital tank after filling it with water from my display tank and dosing half the recommended dose of copper? Put them in right away. Right away. You put that water in, you put them in right away. Along with that, would a fish house ornament be okay as an item to put in the hospital tank? Very good question. Yes, you should put PVC pipe or something for the fish to hide in and swim through. It'll help them out. Okay, so there's your answer. Let's see what everyone's chatting about. Am I still recording? I think I froze. Sorry, guys. I think I froze. Chin W76. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, now Chin W76 says that my video is frozen. Yeah, I'm running off battery. I didn't have the iPhone fully charged, so this won't be too long of a video. People bring fish back to the fish store, and they can contaminate their water when they add a customer's fish to their system. Totally correct. If a fish store was going to do the right thing, they'd have like a quarantine tank set up, maybe 40 gallons or 56, whatever, 65, whatever, 75. 75 gallon would be good. To put those dudes in there, if someone brings a fish back for whatever reason, a customer brings a fish back, 50% the cupramine, keep that dude in there for 6 weeks, then put him back in your system. If I had a reef store, I'd quarantine all the fish, make sure they're totally healthy, no ick. More questions. Ryder, thanks from Willie Frayden. Ryder, thanks for all the info that you give via this channel. You've been a great help to me. You're welcome. I'm so glad you enjoy it. I really, really am. I have a question concerning this subject. I'm in the process of building my DIY tank and stand, and I'm almost done. My question is, when I set up my quarantine, a lot of quarantine questions. When I set up my quarantine tank, which I plan on setting up at the same time as my main display tank with the cycling process, we talked about cycling at the beginning of this video, I have no beneficial bacteria because I'm just starting out. Great question, Willie. Do I cycle the quarantine just like my main display with Dr. Tim's bacteria in order to get it started out? Thanks, bro. You could use Dr. Tim's. I don't use any bacteria in a bottle because it could be expired. Plus, it's not natural. I like nature. I like Mother Nature, even though someone accused me of killing white starfish, and I don't love nature. Whatever, I digress. So, Bees Reef chimed in and said, you can either take rock from your display or do Dr. Tim's. However, you won't get much ammonia to feed Dr. Tim's bacteria without fish. So he doesn't have a display tank that's already cycled. So what you can do is just do what I said in the beginning of this video. Put some shrimp in there, feed the tank every other day, just a pinch of pellet food, whatever. It's going to take some time. It takes about a month to cycle a tank, average, all things considered. And then once your tank is cycled, you can put a sponge in your sump, let that get bacteria on it, throw that in your quarantine tank. What I've done, because when I used to use sump socks, you know how they get nasty and dirty, I would keep it floating in there, not used, in the sump. I just wouldn't hook it up. I would just let it float in there for like a week or two, not catching anything, but just letting it float in there. Like a sump sock I was going to replace, like one of the cotton fabric ones. And after 2 weeks roughly, I would put it in my quarantine tank, would cycle that quarantine instantly. Alpha Male, thanks so much for making the videos, Steve. You're doing an awesome job. Keep up the great work. Thanks so much, dude. Heather Capagli, I hope I said your name right, dear. How are you? Hey, Steve, I read about... She's all over. She's on REEF. She's on the forums, helping people out, the Facebook group. Thank you, Heather. I read about some research that says the cleaner shrimp eat ick parasites. Ah, great question. And this will be the last question. That's false. Bees Reef said, Heather, I believe they do. The shrimp, the cleaner shrimp, will help. This is what you're going to hear. The cleaner shrimp will help to eat the ick parasites off the fish, but never cure the tank as they don't kill the cyst. True and false. The cleaner shrimp can only do so much. It might pick off the parasites on the outside of the fish. If your fish has what looks like salt flakes on its body, you'll know it when you see it. The body's all bumpy like salt flakes or chicken pox. Looks like it's got salt or sugar granules under the body. Looks like saltpaper bumps. You got ick. Those fish got to come out. All fish have to come out and get put in a quarantine tank. By the way, go to router2brief.com. A box will come up. Subscribe to the email list, and you'll get a free ebook on how to kill ick and marine velvet parasite forever. Technically, marine velvet's not a parasite, but we're going to call it that. It kills fish within a couple days. Ick will kill fish. It just takes longer. So that's a free download for you. It's normally on Amazon for $5. Now it's free if you sign up. And I don't use your emails for anything. It's just a way of me to keep in touch with you guys and send you updates. So, stupid reef stores will try and sell you a cleaner wrasse or a cleaner shrimp to eat the ick off the fish's body. It doesn't do that. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of parasites breeding in your aquarium water. One little cleaner shrimp, or even 50, they're not going to be able to keep up with that. They're in your water column. It's It's disease infested. If you walk through a swamp, do you think that, you know, one little mace bottle of bug spray is going to kill all those mosquitoes in a swamp the size of Florida? No. You have to starve those parasites. Get my book to see how to do it, but I already told you, get the fish out of there, remove the food source, it will die forever. And then Tim's tank came in. I'm sorry, but the cleaner shrimp aren't going to do you any good against the shrimp, against the ick, he meant. As Steve can tell you, it's just more bad information that people are simply misinformed about. Yep. I've had to stand my ground many times when I was in a reef store and tell people, no, it's not true. And they're like, oh, stress causes it. Do you have little kids that run around in your house? They're going to stress out the fish. Don't tap on the glass. It stresses them out and ick will come. That's bullshit. Here's another thing, very important. In your quarantine tank, you should be making your own water at home, always with an RODI unit. And if you're using tap water, don't. And if you're using tap water and you're putting that, what is it called, Prime? By Secum or Secum Prime to get the chlorine out of the water, someone correct me. Prime, if you put Prime and cupramine copper solution to kill the parasites in the water at the same time, Prime to remove the chlorine from your tap water, and the cupramine copper to kill the parasites, that is a deadly combination of chemicals. Those two together will kill your fish almost, I don't want to say instantly, but fast. Don't do that. I think it's Prime. It's called Prime. So don't put Prime in your water. I would not use that product. There's no reason for you to use the product. People use it to, oh no, Prime, I believe, is used to get ammonia out of the water. Don't do that. Just do water changes. It's a real pain, but do water changes in your quarantine tank. If you have a 20-gallon quarantine tank, a 5-gallon water change every day is going to be fine, but I would really recommend you just put some foam that's seeded with biological bacteria. Worst case scenario, if you've got a friend or a reef store that'll let you soak a sponge or something in the tank for a couple weeks to get bacteria, do that. Even if the sponge in the water has ick on it, again, it doesn't matter because you're going to kill the ick anyway when it goes in the quarantine tank. You're going to put copper in it. All right. There's a couple stores. ChinW76 said one store owner told me that the cycle started with nitrate and ended with ammonia. Oh my God. False. See, I can say that, but to people new to the hobby, they don't know. Here's how it starts. Nitrogen cycle. It sounds really complicated, but you'll totally get it. When I started in the hobby, I was like, what are you guys talking about? Okay, you got clean saltwater tank, all right? You put food in it or fish peas in it or any kind of fish waste. That's going to turn into ammonia. Ammonia needs to go away or your fish will die. Very bad for the tank, very bad for the tank. Toxic. Ammonia gets broken down by bacteria. The bacteria breaks down the ammonia. It turns into nitrites, Trite. They're not harmful to fish or corals too much. Nitrites get broken down into nitrates. Nitrates are not harmful to fish. Average aquarium has like 30 to 40 to 50 nitrates. That's not good. Corals do not like nitrates or phosphates. You want to get that stuff to 0 or no more than 5. I've got videos on how to do that. The key right off the bat to get nitrates and phosphates lower, don't put too many fish in your tank like I do, because I love fish and I put them in there. I have too many in there, but I take care of it. It's fine. Clean your aquarium. Do water changes every week. Some people are like, I don't do water changes more than once a month. Well, that's great. Saltwater aquariums are a slippery slope and they can get out of control really damn fast. There are times where I thought, damn, my tank looks awesome and the water parameters are perfect. Guess what? Nope. Within like 3 days, what is going on? And everything is like a train wreck. I got sick when my back was thrown out for 2 weeks. I was laying on my back here and I didn't do anything for 2 weeks, maybe 3. And yeah, tank got knocked out of whack. So yeah, there's that. My opinion, Steve, does Beyond the Reef local reef store carry macroalgae? I don't think they do. I get macroalgae from Algae Barn online. And the reason I get it online is because it's totally clean. There's no fish on the premises. Like they've got separate, do they sell fish? They sell inverts. And there's just like no ick or marine velvet parasites to be had. It's complete, phytoplankton, inverts, and what you're looking for. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you did, I'd put the macroalgae, regardless of who you get it from, except the Algae Barn, I would put the anything you get from a reef store, I'd put the macroalgae in a quarantine tank for 6 weeks with no cupramine copper, of course. All right. Stephen Grant says, I use RO water and sea salt in my quarantine tank. That's good. Speaking of that, it's a pain in the butt to make water and change it. Make water and change it. And you're wasting salt, and it's a lot of money. What you can do to save on money is you can keep your salinity level to 1.018. The less salt in your water, the more oxygen in your water. The fish will really appreciate that, especially if they're trying to overcome a parasite. Water will be healthier. They'll be able to breathe more. By the way, when a fish breathes, they also excrete ammonia out of their gills. Anytime anything happens really in the aquarium, it's ammonia. All right? So keep that in mind. Save on salt by going from 1.024, which is the most common. I do 1.026. I try to maintain it. That's ocean level salinity. Quarantine tank, 1.018. For your coral quarantine tank, make sure it's 1.026. Corals do not appreciate anything lower than 1.024. You'll see them really perk up 1.026. All right. One store that sold macroalgae had bubble algae and cotton candy algae growing all over it. Yeah, don't buy that stuff. Again, quarantine tank. Keep it in there. Watch it. Maybe put an emerald crab in there. That'll help you out. Some people don't like emerald crabs because they tend to go after zoanthids and other coral. I never had that issue, and I love the emerald crab. Beyond the Reef. Beyond the Reef. Is that Beyond the Reef the store? You're on my channel? I am honored. What it mean? Maybe it's not. I don't know. Oh, okay. Whoa, they heard us talking about them. I love those guys, by the way. They're in Schaumburg, and I go there for most of my stuff. What it means when the corals bleach and lose the flesh instantly and everything in the tank is where it used to be. There could be a few reasons for that. It could mean that the lights are too powerful. Your pH could be off. It just depends on what you're doing. I'd have to know what you're doing. But usually the corals are too close to the light source and the lights are too bright. I'll tell you what, when I got rid of my T5 lighting, it was just way too powerful. I had 4 T5 bulbs in there. It was just too bright to look at. It was annoying. I didn't like it. There was no shadows. It was just light. It was just like, ah, God, you know. And I put my Phoenix LED light in there. Outstanding. The corals are growing up. There's color. There's shadows. It's just awesome. It's Perfect. Does a water change on a quarantine lower the amount of copper in the tank? Excellent question by Bellens Reef. Yes, it does. And then you have to replenish the copper. That's another good reason to put 50%. Battery keeps dying on this iPhone. That's another reason why I like to do 50% copper, because it will, let's say you do like 100% and you do a water change. How much do I put in? The tests aren't going to help you. Well, I put 70% in. But what if I dosed too much the last time? Now I got 110%? I don't know. So that's why I do 50%. And then they say 48 hours later, dose that amount again, 50% of what they say. And do your water change, dose again, 50% of what they say. And then there's really no other instructions after that. So I just made these instructions up. I'll do a water change. I dose again 50% of what they say. So I do that 4 times. Then I let them chill for a week. Then I do another water change of 50% in the quarantine, dosing 50% of what they say. Then I let them chill and I don't do any copper dosing. Then I do copper dosing the 2nd week, not the 3rd. I do it the 4th, not the 5th. And the 6th week, I do like maybe a 20% mild, just to kind of let them swim in there. So that's how I do the copper. You fed your hammer coral and it looks like it's dying or dead already. Is this possible? Yeah, it's possible. I, for some reason, don't have luck with hammer corals. I don't know why. My water parameters are always like right on. But the hammer coral, they don't last longer than a month in my tank. Everything else thrives. I mean, corals are a good way to see how your water parameters are doing. And the star polyps are excellent for that. If the star polyps, the grass, you know, it looks like the grass is blowing in the waves. If it's out and full and just lush, it's good. If they're like kind of out, not really going, you know, in the water too much, they're kind of closed in, that's not good. Zoanthids are the same thing. Your coral is a great way to test the water, better than water test kits, I believe. The only thing I really test for is nitrates, and I do that maybe once every 2 weeks. And I test my salinity once every 2 weeks. pH is pretty much stable for me all the time. And I do test my calcium maybe once a month, because I know that by doing water changes once a week, I'm stable. I don't add anything except calcium, like 1 or 2 tablespoons of calcium crystals during every water change, because I know to keep my coralline algae, I got to keep my calcium levels at 500 to 550. Otherwise, I wouldn't dose calcium. I don't dose anything, got no reactors. I let Mother Nature do everything. It was doing amazing and grew really big. I just target fed it. Yep, you can do that. I don't target feed my corals either. Maybe once a week with Rod's food and the turkey baster. So that's that. Those are the questions. That's what's going on. I know we talked about ick more, but it's always an important topic. I should have called this channel the Ick Channel, because again, that's what I built my tank around. Don't forget to check out the video description for all the gear I use. Click on the links. They're all to Amazon. You can read reviews. You can see, you know, what people are thinking. The things I buy, I've thoroughly tested. I buy everything with my own money. There's no sponsors giving me anything. And I wouldn't use anything from a sponsor if I didn't believe in it. I did have the MagFloat guys give me a MagFloat. That was totally cool. Love MagFloat the best. I've used the glass scraper that starts with an F. Hated it. Garbage. The MagFloat, the largest one, Swipe, one swipe, and the algae is off the tank, even the coralline algae that's hard to get off, no problem. Love that. Love it. Love it. I do a 10% water change every week as well. Gregory Jones, what to do if fish are showing signs of ick in a new tank. I just went over this in the video. Watch the video again. Also go to Rotter Tube Reef. A box will come up to sign up for the secret club. And download the book for free. It's an ebook. It's available on Amazon for like $5. Or you can download it for free for signing up. And I use your email address to keep you guys in the mix of like what's going on. I don't send out emails too much, but when I come across a cool product, I like to inform you guys and just stuff like that. I don't do anything with the email addresses. But basically, to answer your question, if your fish is showing signs of ick in a new tank, what you need to do is set up a tank that's large enough to house all your fish. You got to do a little fishing. You've got to get all your fish out of there, because don't even think for a second, well, only one guy's got it, so I'll just get him out. Nope, you got to get all your fish out, because that ick parasite is in your water column, and they're waiting to feed on your fish. They're just floating through the column, hundreds and thousands of those little microscopic bastards, and they're going to just cling on and bore through the flesh of your fish, which is what those little salt flecks are. That's actually what parasite looks like, because your fish are getting eaten alive, and all those parasites are eating it from the inside out. It's disgusting, and it's a cruel way for these fish to die. It's torture. Imagine having like insane chicken pox from hell, and you can't itch it. That's why the fish scoop themselves against the rock or the sand. They're trying to itch it. Like, get these things off of me. It's cruel. So you want to get all the fish out, get them into a quarantine tank, dose them with a copper solution. Once those ick parasites jump off your fish, when they're done feeding, they're going to be met with the ick copper solution, and they're going to die. Dose 50%. Keep them in there for 6 weeks. If there's a fish left in your aquarium that you just can't get, you either need to take the rocks out, put them on the floor on a blanket just for 10 or 20 minutes. I've done it in 10 minutes when I had a problem with ick a ways back, and when I got rid of it, when I was getting rid of it in my tank forever. And catch that fish. Catch that fish. Get all the rocks out and catch that fish. If you don't, you have to wait for that fish to die before that 6-week mark can start. That tank, your display tank, has to be empty for 6 weeks, because that's the period it takes for those parasites to die. You got to remove the food source, which is your fish, and that's 6 weeks. Those dudes have to be kept in quarantine for 6 weeks, safe and sound, and mild copper solution bath to kill the parasites. Meanwhile, all the parasites will die in your main tank. Yes, leave your inverts like your shrimp and your snails in your display tank with your coral. The ick is going to die because it only eats fish. And that's how you solve your ick problem. Now, moving forward, don't you dare put anything in your main display tank without quarantining it first for 6 weeks. One quarantine tank for fish that you get at the store with copper solution. A second one with no copper solution. Just let the coral and the snails and the inverts sit in there. Take care of them. Clean the tank, feed them. But don't mix tools. Whatever cleaning turkey baster you use in this quarantine tank, don't put it in your display tank where the ick is and then put it back in your quarantine. Buy separate equipment. I've got a separate siphon for each tank. I know it's ridiculous, but man, you got to do these things, all right? Hopefully that helps. Bacteria is live on the rock and live in the sand. Yep. And in your quarantine tank, don't put any sand. Don't put any rock, because the parasitic cysts, the ick parasitic cysts, will live in the sand. And they breed there for 4 weeks. They encase themselves in a nearly indestructible shell, an egg, if you will. When it opens after 4 weeks, thousands more come out. That's why you got to break the cycle, because when they come out, there's no fish to be had. They're like, oh shit, now we're going to die. Pardon my Italian. And they die within 24 hours if they don't get the feed. That's why you got to go 6 weeks. 5 weeks to be safe, 6 weeks to be extra safe. In your quarantine tank of fish only, you want to put some PVC plumbing in there, the big kind, like the 4-inch kind, so the fish can swim through it. Just a couple pieces will do, just so they can kind of like feel safe. They can hide and swim around things, okay? How we doing? Says, I hear copepods will eat dino flags. Yeah, I've heard that too. Try it out. I can't tell you for sure, but that's what I've read a lot on. Why are you not dosing peroxide? Hydrogen peroxide will kill green hair algae instantly. I look at my videos. It looked like a damn swamp. It looked like I had green wigs, toupees in my tank. It was so wrong. All gone in like 3 days. Hydrogen peroxide, food grade, 12%. I used the 35%. Do not dose more than 1 milliliter per 10 gallons of aquarium water. So I was dosing 10 to 12 milliliters every other day in my 125-gallon aquarium. It does not kill bacteria. It kills fungus. People use it to kill mold in their home. It kills green hair algae. It kills algae. All right? Yeah, Howie, it was nasty, wasn't it? Oh my God, I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was like 4 inches long. It was like silky. It looked like mermaid hair. It was so wrong. And my tangs didn't eat it, by the way. Can you just dose it, hydrogen peroxide, without spot treating green hair algae? Yes, you can. There was a couple days, well, one day, or not a couple. I just put it in the sump. And within like 10 seconds, my corals, my zoanthids, closed up. And the star polyps closed up. Because they don't like hydrogen peroxide. But it doesn't kill them. They stayed closed up for like a day or two. And then they were fine. It gets in the water column fast. But to get rid of the larger masses, I would use a syringe with no needle, of course. And I would just barely squeeze the syringe with all the pumps off, and it would gently flow down onto the green hair algae, and it's really fun to watch it bubble and melt and sizzle away. So that's spot treating it, and it gets in the water column, obviously, at the same time. When you turn those pumps back on, it gets through the whole water column. So I was spot treating it. Then after 10 minutes, I would turn the pumps back on. So that's a great way of doing it. Yes, Chin W76, spot treating is the better option because, you know, you can either let it go through your water column and let it eat the algae away slowly, but spot treating it dissolves it and melts it. You're getting the best of both worlds. I've got a link to the hydrogen peroxide in my video descriptions, and especially the hydrogen peroxide videos. People have bought it. It's a big white bottle by Bubonic Industries, I believe, and it works. I tried Phosphate RX. It did nothing. I tried fluconazole. That didn't do anything. Hydrogen peroxide works insanely well and quick. How was my Chaeto in my sump when I dosed hydrogen peroxide? It was fine. Now, Chin W76 said, it will hurt the Chaeto. It didn't hurt mine. Now, from what I've read, because I read a lot about that, there's different, I'll say, types of, I'm not a biologist, but there's different types of the Chaeto versus the algae. It's a different form of algae, so it won't be affected. Granted, I didn't put it right on the Chaeto, But a lot of people said that their refugium was totally fine when they dosed hydrogen peroxide. Mine was. And it only got rid of the algae, even the algae that was in the sump walls where the chaeto was. I don't have a refugium anymore. I decided against it. I got tired of dealing with it. It was a mess to clean. Simple is best for me. Really, your chaeto started to melt down. Mush Farmer, no more sand now. I don't have any more sand. I'm not breaking up the GSP yet to make the GSP carpet, but I'm thinking about putting sand back in there, but I really want to do the GSP carpet thing. All my corals right now are still in my quarantine tank to show you what it looks like. I just wanted to prove the point. I'll probably put those back in maybe this weekend because I want to get some new coral and I want to put them in the coral quarantine tank. I don't want to infect my current coral if there's any parasites coming in on the water from the reef store. Oh, that's right. Another main reason I took my coral out is it's attached to large rocks, and I took those large rocks out so I can vacuum underneath the rock to do an extra good job at house cleaning the aquarium and getting more of the sand out. I tried biopellets for nitrates, and biopellets did nothing for me. I tried biopellets for like 6 months at a time. I think the first time I tried it was 8 months. And my nitrates didn't go down at all. What a bummer. What really affects my tank with nitrate removal is dosing sugar. I told you guys that. You got to have a protein skimmer, any kind of carbon dosing to remove nitrates. 1 teaspoon of sugar for every 60 gallons works great for me. And my nitrates go from like 40 to 0 in a week and a half. Yes, outcompete effort. That's a good idea. You tried sugar and some corals didn't like it? That's weird. Put it in your top off water. Let it fully dissolve. But I just put the sugar right in the sump. It's totally fine. My corals never had an issue. Maybe you're using too much. If you use too much, your water will cloud up, but that's totally fine. Corals won't die. Fish won't die. Don't dose a crazy amount, like a cup, because carbon dosing lowers the oxygen level in the water, so don't get crazy with it. 1 teaspoon for every 60 gallons isn't going to do anything. I dose 2 teaspoons a day. I'm not carbon dosing now because my nitrates are at 0. But once they're at 0, I'll dose like 1 teaspoon only every 3rd day just to keep them at bay. Your frog spawn didn't like the sugar dosing at all? That's weird. I don't know. That's odd. Because all it is doing is removing the nitrates by increasing the anaerobic bacteria, which takes care of those nitrates. Then you've got to have a protein skimmer to get the nitrates out of your aquarium by exporting it through water changes or a protein skimmer. And the protein skimmer is going to get all gunky and nasty. Protein skimmer is a must if you're going to do carbon dosing because it oxygenates your water. Because carbon dosing brings down your oxygen level a little bit, and it exports those nitrates. And a lot of people have asked me with high bioloads, an algae scrubber kicks butt. Yes, I've never tried one. People have been telling me to do it. I've not done it. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I saw it as something else to build, more things to deal with, more things to clean, more things to maintain. I just put 1 teaspoon of sugar in. Boom, I'm out. Drop mic, gone. Vodka, yes, it's a source of carbon. People do dose vodka. I don't know how much to dose. It's going to be more expensive than sugar, which is why I never tried it. Vodka is dosed. It's another carbon source. It's sugar. It's carbon. There's sugar in vodka, so people dose vodka. And there's some, maybe it's a teaspoon. I don't know. Maybe it's an eighth of a teaspoon. I have no idea. Look that up online. But I know that the right amount that has been successful for many people is 1 teaspoon of sugar for every 60 gallons. It'll last you a bag of sugar, white sugar, table